Men are moved by two levers only: fear and self-interest. Napoleon Bonaparte. They tell you to be good. They tell you that goodness is strength. They tell you that virtue is its own reward. They are wrong. Goodness is a strategy, nothing more. Virtue is a mask worn to disarm the suspicious. The truly powerful understand this. Morality is a tool wielded to control the naive. We are not those people. We see the world as it is, not as it should be. We understand that power is the ultimate currency, and that morality is often the price of acquiring it. This is not a comfortable truth, but it is the truth nonetheless. The world is a game, and those who refuse to play by its rules are destined to be pawns. We are not pawns, we are players, we are strategists, we are the architects of our own destinies, and we will not be constrained by the illusions of morality that bind the masses. The path to power is paved with difficult choices, with uncomfortable compromises, and with the occasional necessary transgression. To deny this is to deny reality itself. To embrace it is to unlock the potential for true, unbridled power. The mind of the powerful operates on a different plane. It is a landscape of calculated risk, of emotional detachment, and of unwavering focus on the objective. Sentimentality is a liability. Empathy a weakness to be exploited. The common man believes in fairness, in reciprocity, in the inherent goodness of humanity. The powerful man knows better. He understands that these are comforting fictions designed to maintain the status quo and to pacify the masses. The powerful see the world as a zero-sum game where one person's gain is another person's loss. They are not concerned with abstract notions of justice or equality. Their only concern is the acquisition and maintenance of power. This is not to say that the powerful are inherently evil. They are simply pragmatic. They understand that the world is a harsh and unforgiving place, and that only the strong survive. To succeed, they must be willing to do whatever it takes to make the difficult choices that others shy away from. This requires a certain level of emotional detachment, a willingness to compartmentalize and to suppress any feelings of guilt or remorse. The powerful must be able to view people as assets or liabilities, as tools to be used and discarded as necessary. The average person is driven by emotions, by desires, by the need for validation and approval. The powerful are driven by logic, by reason, by the cold calculus of power. They are masters of self-control, able to suppress their own emotions and to manipulate the emotions of others. They understand that emotions are contagious and that by controlling their own emotions, they can influence the emotional state of those around them. This is a key element of leadership, of persuasion, and of control. The mind of the powerful is a fortress impenetrable to the outside world. They are masters of deception, able to conceal their true intentions and to present a carefully constructed facade to the world. They understand that perception is reality, and that by controlling the narrative, they can control the outcome. They are skilled at reading people, at identifying their weaknesses and vulnerabilities, and at exploiting them for their own gain. They are also adept at building alliances, at forming strategic partnerships with others who share their goals. They understand that power is often a collective endeavor, and that by working together, they can achieve far more than they could alone. The journey towards power requires a radical shift in perspective. It demands a willingness to abandon cherished beliefs, to confront uncomfortable truths, and to embrace the darker aspects of human nature. It is not a path for the faint of heart, but for those who are willing to pay the price. The rewards are immense. The ability to shape one's own destiny, to influence the course of history, to leave a lasting legacy on the world. These are the prizes that await those who dare to walk the path of power. This path demands constant vigilance, a relentless pursuit of knowledge, and an unwavering commitment to the objective. The powerful are never complacent. They are always learning, always adapting, always seeking new ways to increase their influence and control. They understand that the world is constantly changing, and that to remain in power they must be one step ahead of the game. Consider the ruthless business practices employed by some of the most successful tech companies in the world. These organizations, often lauded for their innovation and disruption, have frequently demonstrated a willingness to bend or even break ethical boundaries in their pursuit of market dominance. Their strategies, while undeniably effective, offer a stark illustration of Machiavellian principles in action. Take, for example, the aggressive tactics used to stifle competition rather than simply innovating and offering superior products. Some companies have actively sought to eliminate rivals through predatory pricing, strategic acquisitions, and the creation of ecosystems that lock consumers into their platforms. Predatory pricing involves temporarily lowering prices to unsustainable levels, effectively driving smaller competitors out of business. Once the competition is eliminated, prices can be raised again, allowing the dominant player to recoup their losses and solidify their market position. Strategic acquisitions, while often presented as mutually beneficial mergers, can also be used to neutralize potential threats. By acquiring promising startups or innovative companies, larger corporations can effectively stifle competition and prevent new technologies from disrupting their existing business models. The creation of closed ecosystems, where products and services are designed to work seamlessly together but are incompatible with those of competitors, is another effective strategy for locking in customers and preventing them from switching to alternative providers. These tactics, while controversial, are often defended as necessary for survival in a highly competitive market. The argument is that if a company doesn't aggressively pursue market dominance, it will be overtaken by its rivals. This justification echoes Machiavelli's assertion that the ends justify the means, and that a ruler must be willing to do whatever it takes to maintain power. The use of data and user information provides another illustration of dark Stoic Machiavellianism. Tech companies collect vast amounts of data on their users, tracking their online behavior, their purchasing habits, and their social connections. This data is then used to personalize advertising, to recommend products and services, and to optimize the user experience. However, it can also be used to manipulate users, to exploit their vulnerabilities, and to influence their decisions. The Cambridge Analytica scandal, where personal data was harvested from millions of Facebook users without their consent and used for political advertising, provides a chilling example of the potential for abuse. In this case, data was used to target specific demographics with tailored messages designed to influence their voting behavior. This incident highlighted the power of data to manipulate public opinion and to undermine democratic processes. The dark Stoic element comes into play with the cold, calculated detachment with which these strategies are implemented. There is often a lack of empathy or concern for the consequences of their actions on individuals, on smaller businesses, or on society as a whole. The focus is solely on achieving the desired outcome, regardless of the cost. This detachment is a key characteristic of the Machiavellian personality, who is able to rationalize their actions by focusing on the greater good or the long-term benefits. In addition, the ability to maintain emotional equilibrium in the face of criticism or controversy is crucial. When faced with public backlash or regulatory scrutiny, these companies often adopt a defensive posture, denying wrongdoing or downplaying the significance of their actions. They are skilled at managing their public image and at controlling the narrative. They understand that public perception is critical to their success, and they will go to great lengths to protect their reputation. The legal battles that often ensue are also a reflection of the Machiavellian mindset. These companies are willing to spend vast sums of money on legal defense, knowing that even if they ultimately lose the case, they can delay the outcome and minimize the damage to their reputation. The goal is not necessarily to win the legal battle, but to win the public relations battle. This example illustrates how the principles of dark Stoic Machiavellianism can be applied in the real world to achieve power and influence. It demonstrates the importance of understanding human nature, of manipulating emotions, and of controlling the narrative. It also highlights the ethical challenges that arise when these principles are put into practice. The pursuit of power, while often seen as a noble goal, can easily lead to corruption and abuse. It is therefore essential to be aware of the potential dangers and to exercise caution when navigating the treacherous path of power. These are not isolated incidents, they are part of a broader pattern of behavior that reflects a fundamental shift in the way power is exercised in the modern world. The rise of technology has created new opportunities for manipulation and control, and those who are willing to exploit these opportunities are often the ones who rise to the top. The dark Stoic Machiavellian understands this and is prepared to act accordingly. The ethical implications of these strategies are profound. While some may argue that they are simply a reflection of the competitive nature of the marketplace, others see them as a threat to democracy and to the well-being of society. The challenge is to find a way to harness the power of technology for good, while also protecting against its potential for abuse. This requires a greater awareness of the principles of dark Stoic Machiavellianism and a willingness to challenge those who seek to exploit them for their own gain. The ability to anticipate the moves of opponents, to understand their motivations, and to exploit their weaknesses is crucial for maintaining control. This requires a deep understanding of human psychology as well as a keen awareness of the political landscape. Moreover, these individuals are not swayed by sentimentality or moral considerations. They are able to make difficult decisions even if those decisions are unpopular or controversial. This detachment allows them to remain focused on their goals, even in the face of adversity. The trap is sprung when the weak mistake inaction for strength, silence for wisdom. They believe that by remaining passive, by avoiding confrontation, they are somehow elevated above the fray. This is a delusion. The world is a battlefield, and neutrality is merely a slower form of defeat. To stand still is to be trampled. Their silence is interpreted not as contemplation, but as weakness, as a lack of conviction, an absence of power. Others will fill the void they create, and their voice, their perspective will be lost in the clamor of competing agendas. They fail to understand that power abhors a vacuum. The weak also fall prey to the illusion of fairness. They operate under the assumption that everyone plays by the same rules, that merit will be recognized, that justice will prevail. This naivete blinds them to the reality of manipulation, of backstabbing, of the relentless pursuit of self-interest that drives so many. They expect reciprocity where there is none, and are inevitably betrayed, disillusioned, and left to wonder what went wrong. They are caught in a web of their own making, a web of trust, misplaced, and expectations unmet. They refuse to see the world as it is, preferring instead to cling to a romanticized vision of how it should be. This idealism is their undoing. Emotions are another snare. The weak allow their feelings to dictate their actions, to cloud their judgment, to make them vulnerable to exploitation. They react impulsively, lash out in anger, crumble under pressure. They are easily manipulated through appeals to their vanity, their fears, their desires. A skilled operator can play them like a fiddle, extracting precisely the response they seek. They lack the emotional discipline to maintain composure, to think clearly under duress. Their emotions become weapons turned against them, tools used by others to control their behavior. They are puppets dancing to the tune of their own feelings. The need for validation is a crippling weakness. The weak crave approval, they seek constant reassurance, they define their worth by the opinions of others. This makes them easily controlled through flattery, through the promise of recognition, through the threat of social ostracism. They are desperate to be liked, to be accepted, and will compromise their principles, sacrifice their goals, just to avoid disapproval. They are slaves to the expectations of others, forever seeking external validation instead of cultivating inner strength. Their self-worth is a fragile construct, easily shattered by criticism or rejection. They are mirrors reflecting the opinions of those around them, lacking any true sense of self. Short-sightedness is a fatal flaw. The weak focus on immediate gratification, on short-term gains, on avoiding discomfort. They fail to consider the long-term consequences of their actions, to anticipate future challenges, to plan strategically. They are reactive rather than proactive, constantly putting out fires instead of preventing them from starting in the first place. They lack the patience, the discipline, the foresight to build lasting success. Their world is limited to the present moment, a series of disconnected events without any overarching vision. They are adrift in a sea of circumstances, tossed about by every passing wave. Intellectual laziness is a subtle but deadly trap. The weak are unwilling to challenge their own assumptions, to question conventional wisdom, to engage in critical thinking. They accept information passively, without scrutiny, and are easily swayed by propaganda, by misinformation, by biased narratives. They lack the intellectual curiosity to explore new ideas, to expand their understanding of the world. Their minds become stagnant, filled with unchallenged beliefs and outdated assumptions. They are trapped in an echo chamber of their own making, hearing only what they want to hear. The fear of risk is a paralyzing force. The weak avoid uncertainty. They cling to the familiar. They resist change. They are afraid to step outside their comfort zone, to take chances, to pursue ambitious goals. This timidity limits their opportunities, stifles their growth, and ultimately condemns them to mediocrity. They prefer the safety of the known, even if it means sacrificing potential rewards. They are prisoners of their own fears, unable to break free from the constraints of their self-imposed limitations. Their lives are defined by what they didn't do, by the risks they didn't take. A lack of self-awareness is the foundation of all these weaknesses. The weak are blind to their own flaws, unaware of their own motivations, and unable to understand how they are perceived by others. This lack of self-knowledge makes them vulnerable to manipulation, prevents them from learning from their mistakes, and hinders their ability to develop meaningful relationships. They are strangers to themselves, lost in a fog of denial and self-deception. They project their insecurities onto others, blaming external forces for their own failures. They live in a distorted reality, unable to see themselves clearly. These are not merely character flaws, they are strategic vulnerabilities. The dark Stoic Machiavellian understands these weaknesses intimately and knows how to exploit them to achieve their own ends. They see the world as a game of chess, and the weak are merely pawns to be sacrificed in the pursuit of victory. They are not motivated by malice, but by a cold, calculating rationality. They simply recognize that weakness is an opportunity, and they are not afraid to take advantage of it. The trap is always there, waiting to be sprung, and the weak in their ignorance walk willingly into its jaws. The Machiavellian approach then hinges on the precise and calculated application of pressure to these pressure points of weakness. It is not enough to simply recognize these vulnerabilities. One must be able to exploit them in a way that serves their own strategic objectives. This requires a deep understanding of human psychology, a keen awareness of social dynamics, and a willingness to act decisively. The Machiavellian understands that people are often driven by irrational emotions such as fear, greed, and envy. They know how to manipulate these emotions to influence behavior and achieve desired outcomes. Fear can be used to control, greed to motivate, and envy to divide. By carefully orchestrating these emotions, the Machiavellian can create a climate of uncertainty and insecurity, which they can then exploit to their advantage. Furthermore, the Machiavellian understands the power of perception. They know that reality is often subjective, and that people's beliefs and opinions are shaped by their experiences and biases. They use propaganda, misinformation, and psychological manipulation to control the narrative and influence public opinion. They are masters of deception, able to present themselves in whatever light is most advantageous to their goals. They understand that appearances matter, and they cultivate an image of competence, strength, and trustworthiness, even if it is a facade. The Machiavellian strategy involves a careful assessment of the target's vulnerabilities, followed by a targeted application of pressure. This may involve flattery, bribery, intimidation, or any other tactic that is likely to produce the desired result. The Machiavellian is not constrained by ethical considerations. They are willing to do whatever it takes to achieve their objectives. However, they are also pragmatic. They understand that excessive brutality or dishonesty can be counterproductive, and they strive to maintain a reputation for fairness and integrity even as they engage in manipulative tactics. They are masters of the art of plausible deniability, always careful to cover their tracks and avoid being directly implicated in any wrongdoing. The Machiavellian is patient. They are willing to wait for the opportune moment to strike, and they are not afraid to play the long game. They understand that success often requires time, persistence, and a willingness to adapt to changing circumstances. They are always learning, always observing, always refining their strategies. They are students of human nature, constantly seeking to improve their understanding of the motivations, desires, and vulnerabilities of others. The Machiavellian's toolkit is vast and varied. It includes the art of deception, the manipulation of emotions, the use of propaganda, and the cultivation of strategic alliances. However, the most important tool in their arsenal is their own intellect. They are critical thinkers, able to analyze complex situations, identify key variables, and develop effective strategies. They are also highly adaptable, able to adjust their tactics as circumstances change. They are not bound by rigid ideologies or moral principles. They are pragmatic, flexible, and always focused on achieving their objectives. The weak, in contrast, are often rigid in their thinking, unable to adapt to changing circumstances. They cling to outdated beliefs and outdated strategies. Even when they are clearly not working, they are easily manipulated because they are predictable. The Machiavellian knows how to anticipate their actions, and they can easily be led into traps. Moreover, the Machiavellian understands the importance of maintaining a strong network of allies. They cultivate relationships with influential people, and they are always willing to help others in exchange for future favors. They understand that power is often a function of social capital, and they invest heavily in building and maintaining their network. They are skilled at networking, able to build rapport with people from all walks of life. They are also skilled at managing conflict, able to mediate disputes and maintain harmonious relationships within their network. The weak, on the other hand, often isolate themselves from others. They are afraid of rejection, and they are unwilling to take the risks necessary to build meaningful relationships. They are often lonely and isolated, lacking the support and resources they need to succeed. The Machiavellian understands that loneliness is a vulnerability, and they will often exploit it to their advantage. The Machiavellian is also a master of self-control. They are able to suppress their emotions and act rationally, even in the face of intense pressure. They understand that emotions can cloud judgment and lead to poor decisions. They are not impulsive. They think carefully before they act. The weak, in contrast, are often driven by their emotions. They are easily angered, easily frustrated, and easily discouraged. They react impulsively, without thinking through the consequences of their actions. They are easily manipulated because their emotions are readily apparent. The Machiavellian knows how to provoke them, how to push their buttons, and how to get them to act against their own interests. Furthermore, the Machiavellian understands the power of silence. They are not afraid to listen, and they are careful about what they say. They understand that words can be used to manipulate and deceive, but they can also be used to reveal information. They are skilled at eliciting information from others, and they are careful not to reveal too much about themselves. They are masters of the art of strategic communication, able to convey their message in a way that is both persuasive and informative. The weak, on the other hand, often talk too much. They are eager to share their thoughts and feelings, and they often reveal more than they should. They are easily manipulated because they are so open and transparent. The Machiavellian's ultimate goal is to acquire and maintain power. They are not interested in abstract ideals or moral principles. They are interested in achieving their objectives, and they are willing to do whatever it takes to succeed. They are not malicious, but they are ruthless. They see the world as a competitive arena, and they believe that only the strong survive. They are not afraid to use force, deception, or manipulation to achieve their goals. However, they are also pragmatic. They understand that power is often a function of legitimacy, and they strive to maintain a reputation for fairness and justice, even as they engage in manipulative tactics. The weak, in contrast, are often naive and idealistic. They believe in fairness, justice, and equality. They are easily disillusioned when they encounter the realities of power. They are often unable to cope with the competitive nature of the world, and they are easily exploited by those who are more ruthless. The dark Stoic Machiavellian possesses a unique combination of qualities that allows them to thrive in a world of power and manipulation. Their Stoic detachment enables them to remain calm and rational in the face of adversity, while their Machiavellian cunning allows them to exploit the weaknesses of others to achieve their own ends. They are not driven by emotion, but by a cold, calculating rationality. They see the world as a game of chess, and they are always several moves ahead of their opponents. They are patient, strategic, and ruthless. They are willing to do whatever it takes to win. The weak, in contrast, are easily overwhelmed by the complexities of the world. They are driven by their emotions, easily manipulated, and unable to cope with adversity. They are destined to be pawns in the game of power, constantly exploited by those who are stronger and more cunning. The dark Stoic Machiavellian, through constant self-assessment and disciplined strategy, is the player, not the piece. Consider the Roman Empire, a sprawling dominion built on conquest, strategy, and the calculated application of force. Its rise and maintenance offer a chillingly effective case study in dark Stoic Machiavellianism, far exceeding the simple brutality often associated with warfare. The legions were not merely engines of destruction, they were instruments of psychological manipulation, their movements carefully orchestrated to inspire awe, fear, and ultimately submission. Roman generals, often schooled in philosophy and statecraft, as well as military tactics, understood that a swift, decisive victory, accompanied by a display of controlled mercy, could be far more effective than a protracted, bloody campaign. This wasn't simply about winning battles, it was about shattering the enemy's will to resist, about demonstrating the futility of defiance in the face of Rome's seemingly inexorable power. Think of Julius Caesar's campaigns in Gaul. He not only conquered territory, but he systematically undermined the tribal structures and rivalries of the Gauls, turning them against each other and solidifying Roman control through a combination of military might and political maneuvering. He understood the importance of intelligence gathering, exploiting internal divisions, and creating a climate of uncertainty and fear. His legendary clemency, displayed towards some vanquished enemies, was not born of genuine compassion, but from a pragmatic assessment of its strategic value. Showing mercy, in certain carefully selected cases, could pacify a region more effectively than continued repression, encouraging cooperation and preventing future rebellions. This was not forgiveness, it was calculated manipulation designed to serve Rome's long-term interests. The Gauls were disarmed not only of their weapons, but also of their hope. The Pax Romana, the era of relative peace and prosperity that followed Caesar's reign, was not simply a result of military dominance. It was a carefully constructed illusion, a testament to the power of perception management. The Roman emperors understood that maintaining control required more than just brute force. It demanded the cultivation of a sense of order, stability, and shared identity. They invested heavily in public works, infrastructure projects, and cultural programs, creating a sense of common purpose and binding the vast empire together. This was not altruism, it was a strategic investment in maintaining power, a way of ensuring that the benefits of Roman rule outweighed the burdens of taxation and military service. The people were kept content, occupied, and therefore less likely to question the authority of the emperor. Bread and circuses became the defining feature of social engineering. However, beneath the surface of this apparent stability lurked a constant struggle for power. The imperial court was a hotbed of intrigue, backstabbing, and political maneuvering, where individuals constantly vied for influence and control. Emperors were routinely assassinated, conspiracies were hatched in the shadows, and alliances were forged and broken with ruthless efficiency. This was not an anomaly. It was the natural consequence of a system where power was concentrated in the hands of a single individual and where the stakes were incredibly high.